quick shout out to our sponsors, Englesey Family Chiropractic. He is in Coeur d'Alene and Spokane Valley. Dr. Englesey is amazing. I've known him for 30 plus years. He helped me to get feeling great after not seeing a chiropractor ever in my life. He was the first one I saw, and I am feeling great because of him. Go check him out. Englesey Family Chiropractic. Taigatu Clothing Company. It's a lifestyle brand based out here in the Pacific Northwest, owned and operated by two brothers. I love this brand because they started in their garage as a hobby and they've blown this thing up. Look, their motto is freedom from ordinary. I definitely recommend you go check out Taigatu Clothing Company. Rewebbed Inc. It's a family and veteran-owned full-service digital agency. I've been working with these guys for a while, and there's a few things that I can tell you about them. They're very trustworthy, they're transparent, and they're honest. They're on this mission to help small businesses grow and get modern without losing the value that actually built those businesses. They're definitely worth your time. Go check them out, rewebbed.com.
Julian, you were a TUF 22 contestant. You've competed on Dana White's Contender Series. All around badass, man. Thank you again for taking time. I appreciate it.
Oh, no worries. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I'd like to go back to the beginning here. I mean, what was childhood like for you? Where'd you grow up?
I actually was born in Seattle and then spent my first 11 years over there and then moved to Yakima and, was just more of a skateboarder, snowboarder, and just kind of average kid, and kind of fell in love with MMA once me and my dad watched the WEC, because it was free fights back then, when the UFC was only having pay-per-views like once every 4 months or whatever it was. And
Yeah.
the WWE was the smaller guys, and I was built more of a smaller guy, even though I'm 6'1". At the time I would, well, even now I'm, featherweight. So we like to watch all the small guys fight, and got into it, watching it, watching that. And my dad used to love that Donald Cerrone, because I was built kind of like him, like long and lanky and kind of lean. And so kind of just fell in love with it. Found out there was a MMA gym in my town, and I was a little skeptical that it was like a karate gym or something like that, and it wasn't like legit. And then I walked in there, and I realized that right off the bat that it was a legit gym, and that was what Yakima MMA was. And spent, can't remember exactly how many fights I had under the Yakima MMA banner, but the majority of them, I've a lot of my fights were in Yakima and under Rich Guerin and Yakima MMA. And then moved out to Vegas a few years back to try to kind of pursue the dream. I was in Yakima, it just wasn't big enough for me. I just couldn't get the right training partners. I had good coaching. It just it's something to be said about getting your butt kicked every day to make you have a bigger learning curve, and I just wasn't getting my butt kicked like I used to. And moving out to Vegas, the first couple of days I got my butt just handed to me, and that was something I had missed, and they say iron sharpens iron, and there's a truth behind that. And so coming out to Vegas and getting some really good ass whoopings is kind of excelled my skill set and my career, obviously.
Yeah, come on, man. Well, like I mentioned, you were on The Ultimate Fighter season 22. Walk me through that process, man. How did you get to apply for that show, and what was that experience like for you being in the house?
To get to the show, basically I just had to buy a plane ticket, come out to Vegas, and try out. It wasn't like I got invited, or you just had to have a certain amount of credentials. You had to have 3 pro fights at least. I was 14-2, and I just won 2 belts at K-Sport. I was just the featherweight champ again, and the lightweight champ, and I just beat Harrison Bevins, and then just beat Drew Brokenshire. And so I went out there having 2 belts that I just won, and I figured that would be a good argument for me to be on the Ultimate Fighter. And just the record itself, 14-2. There's a lot of guys that get on the Ultimate Fighter that only have like 4 or 5 fights, and luckily for me, just my record and my credentials underneath that kind of gave me a shoe in to get on the Ultimate Fighter. And because you do like a minute worth of pads, you do like a minute of grappling, but you can really tell that they're not really interested in that. They just want to see that you know what you're doing. And but they basically want to know what your record's about. They were asking me, they were looking my record up, and obviously I've fought some tough dudes, and they just wanted to know if 55 would be okay with me on the show. And I told them I'd fight 55 and 45, and I could easily make the weight. And I actually prefer to be on the show at 40 or 55 because I fought 4 times in 7 weeks, and that's pretty unheard of. Making featherweight would be just too tough for that. And so, basically it was a shoe-in. I did the interviews, and they seemed to like me, seemed to think that I have some personality and that I'd be good on the show. And fought to get in the house, and I got a last-minute change. I was supposed to fight God, I can't remember the kid's name. He was a redheaded kid, and he actually fought Khabib on a short notice fight a while back when Tony and Khabib like fell out one time.
Okay.
Daryl something. But I was supposed to fight Daryl, and the night after weigh-ins, one of the producers came in and said, "Hey man, Daryl had to pull out for whatever reason. You're gonna go against the alternate because the alternate Jason Suarez had made weight and was just waiting in the in the weeds for something to happen to somebody. He would pop right in there, and sure enough, I fought Jason Suarez and." I think it was a better matchup for me. He's more of a wrestler, and I figured he'd be a little intimidated by my size and want to just kind of try to wrestle me down on the ground. But been there, done that. If you watch my cage sport, I fought some decent, shorter wrestler dudes, and it's kind of a good fight for me at the time. Although Jason Suarez right now is 14-0, as those were exhibitions. So right now,
Right.
Jason Suarez is 14-0. So to have him on my record as a win, it was good for me. But so I beat him, got in the house, and we're there for 7 weeks. I got 2 more wins in the house, and then lost to Artem Lobov, who I kind of got unlucky with that. If he didn't know Conor McGregor, he wouldn't have never got a second chance in the house.
Yeah.
So without that, I could have been, in the finale. I wasn't at the finale, but I was fighting, underneath the finalists. And and then what also sucked too is Saul Rogers from the UK had some issues, and he was supposed to be in the finale with Artem, and got pulled for whatever issues, and then they brought Ryan Hall in to fight him, and I thought that was weird because I was actually the longest lasting American in the house, and then so Ryan Hall won the show, and he was 3-1, and I actually was on the show, and I was 3-1, so we had
Right.
the same record on the show, and he won it, and so that was kind of disappointing in that sense, but I was happy to get in the UFC, happy to do the whole thing, and enjoyed my experience on there, and I got my first UFC contract from it, so I'm not whining about it. It was amazing for my career, and I actually got a bonus on the house. Me and Mehdi Baghdad had the fight of the season bonus, so made a little bit of extra scratch doing that, and it was enjoyable. I liked it. I liked everything about it.
No, that's awesome, man. Well, I mean, after you were on the show, you spend the next 2 years fighting your way back to the UFC, right? And then ultimately you get the shot on Dana White's Contender Series. You win via knockout in the second round. I mean, what was it? What were you feeling after that fight? Were you expecting to get the contract from Dana after that?
Well, I actually didn't get the contract after that. I knocked out Jamal Emmers, who was 13-3, and he was a 2.5-1 favorite over me. And it really disappointed me because the way they were talking Jamal Emmers up, if he beats me, he for sure is going to get signed. And me being in the Ultimate Fighter, me kind of working my way up through the ranks outside the UFC and coming back to the contenders and kind of starting from the bottom again. I figured if I just got a win, they're probably gonna have push me through, because I kind of had those credentials, like I said, and not only that, I always usually have a pretty decent fight. It's usually pretty exciting just because of my style, and so I figured, even if however I win, if I just get a win, even if it's like not as action as you usually is, at least it'll be pretty entertaining, and they should probably give me a contract. And but I ended up knocking him out with a head kick, and we had a good first round back and forth. He actually dropped me on my butt right at the end. I stepped into a jab, and in between rounds, my coach was like, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "Oh hell yeah, I'm having a great time. Let's do this." And came out and a little bit on fire, and kind of was started putting the pressure on him like I usually do, and caught him with that head kick, knocked him out. And that's one of those like $50,000 bonus head kicks.
Right.
And I was so ecstatic. I was like, "There's no way he's not signing me now." And I was watching some of the fights. The heavyweight won by a spinning back fist that night. Another kid won by like a 15-second knockout, and then Shevchenko's sister was on there as a main event, and I already knew she was probably going to get signed no matter what. She just had to win, which kind of blew my mind because she was a 9-1 favorite for a short notice girl, and TKO'd her, but it was one of those like forearm TKOs where you're just kind of banging the forearms and they're not moving, and so they got to stop the fight or whatever. It's kind of stupid, and so they ended up signing her, no problem. Like I knew it was going to happen, and then they signed another kid, T. Edwards, or his name was T. Edwards. He got a quick knockout at 55, and then they gave the heavyweight who the one with the spinning back fist, which was pretty unheard of, man. Heavyweights doing that kind of acrobatic stuff, you think you're gonna get signed. They gave him a shot at the Ultimate Fighter, which was almost like a downgrade because I'd rather be on Contenders than the Ultimate Fighter because at least with Contenders you don't have to stay in the house for that long and have to deal with not having your phone and all that kind of stuff. But so they kind of so that guy was kind of upset. I was upset initially, but I told myself, you know what? Just stick to the game plan, man. Just keep grinding, keep doing what you need to do. And I switched managers at the time and got with Jason House and with the Iridium Sports Agency. And literally after signing with him, I got like a short notice fight like 3 days after that for it was going to be within 10 days against Devontae Smith in Colorado.
Yeah.
And my problem that I had at that time mentally was that I was kind of fed up that I've been kicked from the UFC. I didn't get signed from Contenders by doing like the best you could possibly think about doing in the Contenders, and
Right.
and so I was kind of I was a little frustrated. I just told myself I'll fight anybody, anytime, anywhere, let's do it. And so I was being a little desperate in that sense. And Devontae Smith's not a good fight for me, or wasn't a good fight for me at the time. It was upper weight class against a big, strong kid, who's got 8-1 with, 8 of his wins. All of his wins were knockouts. And it's
Wow.
like, probably wasn't the smartest fight for me to take, but I would just told myself that I was being a little desperate with it. I wanted just to fight anybody, anytime, anywhere. And so I took that one and lost that one, obviously, but it got me back in the UFC, so I wasn't disappointed in that. I got another shot against Grant Dawson, and then I had an ear infection about a week before that, and I was on antibiotics in that fight. And if you watch that fight and you watch, even my most recent fight, the third round is where the second, third round, those are like the end of the second, the whole third. That's my time to shine.
Yeah.
And with Dawson, even though he took me down a lot, and it can be an exhausting fight. Even our last fight was exhausting. I took on 5 days notice, and I don't fade. I don't ever fade in fights. I've never been one of those people who slow down. I always just go, pressure, pressure, pressure. And with Grant Dawson, those antibiotics really kicked in. And I don't want to take anything away from his win because that kid is a tough kid, but he has 15 or 16 wins, and I'm the only kid he hasn't finished. And I was on antibiotics, and I'd always loved. I would really want to get that fight back, but you know what? He's on bigger and better things. So by all means, do your thing, boy. And for me at the time, like it just sucked because I just got knocked out, and I didn't want to be a guy that pulled from a fight and have the UFC cut me because of that shit. And so
Right.
I said, you know what? I got ear infection. I'm gonna give it. My cardio is top notch. So maybe just having top notch cardio, the antibiotics won't affect me that much, but that's something I should have been smarter about. I should have pulled from that fight. I didn't. Got finished, or I didn't get finished, but I lost my decision against him.
Yeah.
And then another month later, I get Julio Arce. I thought I think I had gotten cut for like 4 days. Like
Okay.
UFC kind of cut me, and but I don't think they really officially cut me. So technically, I feel like I've had 4 stints in the UFC, but they say this is my 3rd stint. But after that Grant Dawson fight, I think technically they were planning on cutting me, but my manager, who's good friends with Sean Shelby, told me, "Yo, man, can you just let Julian keep his stuff with USADA just in case something pops up?" And that Julio Arce fight popped up, and I took it, and I think I was winning that fight. In the first couple of rounds, I think I was frustrating him, and the 3rd round's usually my round, and I got caught with a sneaky head kick, and I have nothing but good things to say about Julio's fighting style. He caught me fair and square, and as me being a little bit pressuring without keeping my guard up as much as I should have been. And after that, I was just down and out, man. I knew I was gonna get cut after that for sure, 100%. And then
Yeah.
I wanted just to fight and keep fighting, so I took that AJ Bryant fight up in K Sport, and he was good. I can't remember what his record is, but he's got a pretty good record. I think he was like 13-4 or something like that, but a pretty good record. And even I heard he was even kind of getting looked at the UFC as well. So going and getting him with a bulldog choke, as was pretty impressive. I think I wasn't planning on bulldog choking him, but it just kind of worked out its way. And I was only able to get 1 fight in between stints, but I think I've grown a lot in between times, and just been smarter about things. Been listening to my coaches and my management a little bit more, and I put a lot of trust in those guys, and I know they have my best interest in mind. So I can let go of the reins a little bit and let those guys kind of take over. But obviously, it worked out for the best. I was able to get this short notice fight, and it's honestly, I think it's only because of the pandemic. Me being here, being in shape, ready to go, and having it difficult for foreign guys to come over here. I mean, the guy who was supposed to fight him was Kyle Nelson, who is a Canadian and couldn't get his visa straightened out, and it has to do with this pandemic. And the silver lining for me is I was able to get re-signed to the UFC, being 1-4 with them. So it worked out good for me.
Man, absolutely. And I'm a big believer in life happens for us, not to us, man. You get back in the cage, you fight Sean Woodson. After that win, there's a photo of you, and you mentioned it on Instagram. What was your emotions going through at the end of that fight, man? Like, you're finally back in the UFC, you get the win, but you said you put the blood, the sweat, the tears, everything into it, man. What are you feeling after you get that win?
Man, all the emotions start to rush in. When I'm in the fight in the second round, like you could start seeing that I was really feeling myself and enjoying it. And I was in that like kind of like I want to murder this kid kind of state of mind, but not like only because I wasn't gonna let this kid take this from me. Like that was something I don't care if the UFC still cut me after it, or they wouldn't let me have a fight, or whatever the situation was. I was just not gonna let this kid leave that cage with his hand raised without, knocking me out or killing me. He was
Yeah.
gonna have to do something like that, and I was gonna I was gonna make sure he left that cage knowing he was in a fight, win, lose, or draw. So for me, after feeling myself, the emotions are high, and I went from kind of like that, having a good time and enjoying it, to once I won, like all the emotions kind of hit me, and it's not only me, it's everybody around me. It's my coaches, it's my teammates, it's my family, my friends. A lot of my teammates, are coming off losses. Joe Benavidez is one of my teammates, Tim Elliott, Gina Mazzani, Gustavo Lopez. A couple of those fights were short notice, and then Joe Benavidez fought for a title. So, you're fighting the best in the world. So, you're going to take losses, and he got headbutted in that fight. I think he was the one initiating the headbutt, but he got cut and it kind of bothered him. And then Tim Elliott, kind of outworked himself and got choked, but and he was winning that fight up until then. But, when you have a team and people are losing, we needed something like this. And it's like, a lot of my teammates, tell me like, man, you won, but we all won. And so
Yeah.
and not only to just to get a win, to win the way I did, like that's how I train every day. If you come and watch me spar at Extreme Couture, or you watch me spar, or you watch me train, then you would see that that's how I am in the gym, and it translated really well this time into the cage. And a lot of my fights, it sucks because a lot of people, all they see is what you do in the cage. They don't see the work that you do in the gym. And like the odds makers, the guys talking crap, saying, I was a lamb to get slaughtered against this kid. And but they're not in the gym with me. They're not training. They don't understand what the situation is. And I do stuff like, some people think I'm stupid and I'm crazy because of some of the things I do. I mean, I was, during quarantine, we were getting one practice in, but I was riding my bike 25 miles to go to that practice and 25 miles back. I was on my bike twice as long as the practice was, just so I can get my weight down. And I had no prospect of getting in the UFC. I had nothing going on. I was just doing it to do it because, I kind of enjoy the process of it all. And so I was kind of just throwing myself into training really hard and doing things that some people just were like, what are you doing, man? It's pandemic, and this was even before the UFC was announcing they were going to have fights. Like, I
Yeah.
was just doing stuff just to do stuff. And they're like, man, like everybody was taking like it was like vacation for everybody. We're all getting unemployment, everybody's like drinking, having a good time. And don't get me wrong, I was having my fair share of a good time. But once I heard that the UFC was coming back for short, in Vegas, and that they were going to need some local guys, I turned everything around, and I was like, I don't care that I'm 1-4. I have one of the best managers around. I have some of the best coaches around. I was like, if I'm in the gym training hard, these guys are going to see that. And whether it's other guys in the UFC or other managers or other coaches, are going to see that. Word's going to get around. Sean Shelby knows all these guys, knows all the main coaches, knows all the main managers. So if I'm in the gym beating some dudes up in the UFC, they're like, dude, I don't know what happened with Julian in the first couple of stints, but I tell you what, this kid's got it, man. And I think I just had kind of a bad luck and like kind of a bad taste in my mouth about the whole situation, because I was like, man, all I really want to do is perform to my my capabilities. And I feel like Saturday was literally my entire 12 years into one fight. And being able to not only, just push the pressure on somebody that was, just take his punches and keep coming forward and give him everything I had. And not only that, be able to finish him with such a slick Darce choke, and make it look so good the way it happened, everything kind of was overwhelming. And even now when I think about it, I kind of get choked up thinking about it, because it's just been such a long road and such a hard process, and, I've been doing this for such a long time. And, I'm an Uber driver here in Vegas. So like, it's not like, being a full-time fighter, this is such a tough way to make a living, so you really have to enjoy it. You really have to love it. It's a hobby for me, up until you get into the UFC and start making some real money. This is only a hobby. And so, when you sacrifice yourself for something that is only for fun, when you get something as big as Saturday was to me, it just it makes up for it all, and it does nothing but just kind of solidify my thoughts that I should be in the UFC. These guys were talking this kid up, but anyways, it's just such a good feeling. It's almost like I don't have the words to describe exactly how it feels, but it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, absolutely awesome to have you on my show, and so excited to see you back in the UFC, see you continue to fight in your career, man, and continue to kick some ass, man, and looking forward to your next one.
Oh man, I appreciate you having me on, dude. It's you guys that are, putting the word out for me, and you know, obviously after that win, people were already like, you know, everybody's coming out of the woodwork, but you guys really are able to get, you know, the story out and have people really understand, like, you know, where I'm coming from. And so I appreciate you and what you do. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks for watching the show today. I really appreciate it. Hey, if this show moved you or made an impact on you or inspired or motivated you, that's my goal. Please go leave us a review and a rating wherever you heard or watched this show. Leave a comment. I'll respond to all of the comments. I'm so grateful for you. Please go share this video as well. Thank you again for your time. Have a great day.